Okay, welcome to video number 2. So we're going to do some substitution here. Okay, so we're just going to put 8 into here. Now, if we remember, we have BIDMAS. Okay, now BIDMAS tells us that indices comes before division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So I'm going to have to do my indices because I've got a squared there first. So I know that a equals 8, so the first thing I'm going to do is 8 squared, okay, and that equals 64. So now I know that I've got 64 here. My sum actually looks like 9 plus 4 times 64. Now I've done my indices, but next up I've got multiplication. I've got to do that before I add. So I'm going to do 4 times 64 next, and that equals 256, okay? So I'm going to do 256, and then I've got my 9, okay? So 9 plus the 256, which would equal 265. Okay, so that's our final answer for that one. Next one then, so let's work out the value of 2 minus 2x when x equals minus 5. So here we're working with two negatives, aren't we? Because we know that this says 10 minus 2 times x. So we've got to do our multiplication first, because multiplication comes before subtraction, okay? So we're going to do minus 2 times minus 5. So 2 times 5 is 10, and I'm working with two negatives, so that makes a positive. So I know that that equals positive 10. So now I've got just 10 plus 10. So my answer is 20 for that one, okay? Right then, next one, expand and simplify. So we did these last week. So to expand, we take the number on the outside of the bracket and times it by what's on the inside of the bracket. So we'll do that first. So 3 times 4 is 12, so we'd have 12a. 3 times 5 is 15, so we'd have 15b. Don't forget that's negative. Then we'd have 2 times 2 is 4, so we'd have 4a. And then we've got 2 times minus 3 is minus 6, so we've got minus 6b, and we've got our plus in the middle. Okay, so good news, we've expanded. Now we need to simplify. So I've got 12a, and I've got to plus 4a, so that gives me 16a. And I've got minus 15b, and I need to take away another 6b. So that leaves me on minus 21b. Okay, so that's my final answer for question 13. Okay, so it's the same principle for this one. So we're going to multiply the outside of the bracket by whatever's on the inside. So 2 times a is 2a. 2 times 2 is 4, so we get 4b. Minus 3 times positive 2 is minus 6, so we get minus 6a. Then I've got minus 3 times minus 4, so that would be positive 12b. Okay, so that's my expansion. Now I need to simplify it. So I've got 2a, and I need to take away 6a. So that gives me minus 4a, and then I've got 4b plus the 12b equals 16b. Okay, so minus 4a plus 16b is our final answer for that one. Next one then, so we've got 190 times 0.33. So for this one, I like to make them into kind of whole numbers, okay? So I'm going to, whatever I do to one side, I've got to do to the other side, okay? So if I want to make 0.33 into 33, I'm going to have to times that by 100, aren't I? Okay, so I'm going to times both sides by 100. And then do that sum, okay? So that gives me, 19,000 times 33. Okay, so 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 9 is 27. And 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 2 is 5. So that gives me 57,000. Now I've got to do the next one. I'm in the tens column. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 1 is 3 plus the 2 is 5. So now I've got 570,000, okay? So if I add those together, I actually get 627,000. So I'm just going to write that up for you. Okay, so I've just done a really simple multiplication there. Now all I've got to do to make this correct is divide it by the same amount I multiplied by totally. So if I multiplied by 100 twice, that means I've got 4 zeros, so I just need to take it back 4 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that leaves me with my answer of 62.7. Okay, so next one, we've got 774, and we are dividing that by 3. So we're going to ask ourselves, how many 3's go into 7? Well, 2 do, because 3 and then 6. But I've got 1 left over, okay? So now I've got 17. So I'm going to do my 3 times table again. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I get 5, but I've got 2 left over. So now I've got 24. And good news, that's in the 3 times table. 8 3's go into 24. So I can put 8 there, and my final answer is 258 for that one. Okay, so a little bit more BIDMAS for this one. So BIDMAS was up here. I don't think I'm going to rewrite it. Maybe I'll rewrite it here. Okay, so good news, we've got brackets. So let's start with those. So 11 minus 7 is 4, okay? And then all I've got left is my multiplication. So it would be 5 times 4 equals 20. So my final answer is 20. Next one then, I've got 2 operations. I've got multiplication and I've got subtraction. Now m comes first, so I have to do that first. So 2 times 5 is 10, and then the subtraction, minus 5 equals 5, okay? So that's my answer for that one. Last couple then, so in this one we want to work out a third of 27. So the best way of doing this is imagine, well, a fraction is just it cut into that many pieces. So I'm going to take my number, I'm going to do 27, and I know that they've got that in 3 parts. So I'm going to divide it by 3, and that equals 9, okay? So now I know that the pie as such is cut into 3 sections of 9, and I only want 1 section of that, so that's my final answer, is 9. It gets a little bit more difficult when the number on the top of the fraction is higher than 1, okay? So let's have a go at this one. So we've got 221 as our number, okay? And I know that I've split this into 13 parts, so I'm going to divide 221 by 13, and I would get 17, okay? So now I know that my pie as such, my number, is split into 13 sections, all worth 17. And I know from the top of the fraction that I want 5 lots of them. So all I do now is take 17, because that's worth 1 slice, and I times that by 5, okay? Which gives me 85. So I now know that 5/13 of 221 equals 85. So please make sure you've marked your answers as you've gone along. You've given yourself a mark out of 20, and you've corrected any that weren't quite right. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and your next maths work will be set on Monday. Bye-bye.